Hello everyone, X-Wall Kill Bethelite here. And Jehovah's Witnesses, by and large, especially in the United States, lack faith. The Bible says without faith it's impossible to please God well. And that would be the case for most Jehovah's Witnesses. Something as simple as just examining your own religion, just to make sure you're in the right place. Examining your own religion. Reading some material that's not written by Watchtower. If you look at the Bible, there's nothing there that says you can't make sure you're in the right faith. There's literally nothing in the Bible to say you can't check to make sure you're being taught the right things. It doesn't exist. The concept that you should avoid examining your own faith is something really manufactured, completely manufactured by Watchtower. The Bible actually says the opposite. So why did they manufacture? Why did Watchtower manufacture this concept that anybody that leaves them is an apostate and you can't talk to them? Well, it's the fear of examining your belief. See, Jehovah's Witnesses will walk up to a door all day and night and talk to somebody that doesn't know anything about their religion. They can't really be challenged per se, because they're going up to people hoping that that person doesn't know anything about the Bible at all, and or doesn't know anything about Watchtower and what goes on there, to point out things and bring it up in discussion. If that were to happen, a Jehovah's Witness come to a door, knocking with the magazine, Watchtower and whatnot, and the person was to display a knowledge of what goes on inside and behind closed doors in that cult, and bring it to that person's attention for discussion to challenge that person's thinking, I guarantee you 100 times out of 100, that person's leaving that door. They're walking away. Jehovah's Witnesses, more so than any other group, are not gathering out of faith. They're gathering out of a desire to want to be special, to want to be better, to want to speak of themselves as the only true religion. That's what they want. They want titles. They want to be called ministerial servant. They want to be called a pioneer. They want to be called an elder. They want to be called a circuit overseer. They want titles, whereas it would be very difficult for them to get titles otherwise with a lack of education. People that don't have much education or much importance wanting titles. That's kind of what it boils down to. Because you've got Pentecostals that will just out of pure faith jump up and down, run around, roll all over the floor. Whether that person has a lot of faith or not, it at least takes something for them to do all of that in front of everybody. You got Baptists that'll jump up and down, yell, holler, and scream. I saw somebody at the park. I don't know if they're a Baptist or a Pentecostal, but they just up and started, doing the praise and yelling and everything in front of everybody, not caring what anybody saw. Jehovah's Witnesses are docile. You go into the hall, they're just sitting there listening to whoever gets up on that platform. Jehovah's Witnesses don't do any of all of that. Why is it that there isn't a single person that is in that cult that read in the Bible about praise and decided, hey, I'm going to give praise in the middle of the meeting, and there's nothing you can do about it? They're too fearful. Even if they would have read it in the Bible about giving praise, They're too fearful to try it. Even if they read in the Bible about speaking in tongues, they're too fearful to do anything different from what the majority of everyone else is doing around them. The rule against beards, you think there would just be a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses with beards and some without? No, most of them are not going to have them because they're just fearful of doing anything different from what the majority of people do. A lot of them, most of them, are just followers. Somebody so happened to knock on their door with the magazine and they just follow them. Jehovah's Witnesses probably lack faith more so than any other religion, because I don't know too many other religions where a person is that fearful of examining their own beliefs. A Jehovah's Witness is not going to Google the word Jehovah's Witness in the computer. They're just not. They're too afraid to look at anything outside of their website. They're too afraid to read religious material outside of Watchtower. If a person really had faith in God, biblical things would be things the least of their fears or worries. If a person really had faith in God, they would just pray, and then they would examine whatever religious piece of material that was in front of them. And then if they were really Bible students, they would just compare it to what it says in the Bible. Jehovah's Witnesses do the polar opposite. They read a Watchtower and allow that Watchtower or Watchtower printed book to examine the Bible for them, to tell them what the Bible says. They don't go Bible first and then material and compare it to the Bible. They're too afraid. They don't have the faith to examine their own religious belief. That is unreal. The only people that they'll talk to about their religion are people who don't know anything about it. It's hard to challenge something you don't know nothing about. Have you ever been in training? Let's say it's at work or class, and you're training about something. This is like the first day of training. You don't have a lot of knowledge about what you're training about. Let's say you're training at work for something new, completely new. And then your trainer's going to ask for questions. Anybody got any questions? Well, the first class, you don't know enough to even have any questions. You don't know enough to challenge the person teaching you. But let's say after you finish training for whatever the job is, and then you start working in that job and you get experience in it, well, then it'd be a different story if you were in that class. You'd have all kinds of questions. What about this situation? I was in this situation. What about that? Jehovah's Witnesses rely heavily on a person not having any experience with them, not knowing anything about them. Because that person wouldn't know enough to question. They wouldn't know what to question. They wouldn't have experience to bring up in discussion. That is some of the weakest stuff you would have ever imagined. And the shunning, a lot of that is just fear also. There's rarely a challenge. If somebody's shunned, and they really shouldn't be shunned, there's often times where people confess to doing something and they're trying to do right and get shunned. Well, you would think that not only would the people at that Kingdom Hall trying to shun your kid or wife, husband, whoever, not only would they have to meet with that person, they would have to convince the whole family. They would all have to meet with the family and convince them. People who are outside of the cult, they have no idea that all that would happen is these people would meet with the person that they're about to get shunned then announce it up on stage, and everybody just does it. You would think that they would have to have 3 and 4 meetings with the family, with the friends, have to convince people to stop talking to this person that they've talked to their whole lives as their flesh and blood. You think that they would have to meet with the person, and then they'd have to meet with the family, then they would have to meet with some of the friends, and there'd have to be this big separation counseling and all this stuff that would have to take place. No, they just announce it up on stage because nobody's going to challenge it. These are the weakest, most fearful, faithless people there are, especially in the United States, because they're not really challenged. There's nothing going on. They're going door to door, knocking on people's doors that already know about Christianity. They're not going into a completely Muslim area where people are anti-Christian trying to Christianize them. No, they're knocking on your neighbor's door that goes to church anyway. That takes zero faith to go knock on somebody's door. I mean, it takes a little bit of social courage, but it doesn't take real faith to go knock on somebody's door that 9 times out of 10, I would say 9.5 times out of 10, I've already heard about Christianity. Ain't too many people in America that ain't heard of Christianity already. Whether they attend church or not, this is not nothing new that you're talking to them about. And then the leadership of Jehovah's Witnesses, you think that they would be stationed somewhere where there's the most turmoil so that they can be a stabilizing force there. No, they stationed in the United States of America where it's safe. Quote unquote governing body. All them men are stationed in the United States. They'll travel just to give a speech somewhere, and then they're going to bring their behinds right back here and leave the people in whatever country to suffer whatever they're suffering due to the teachings. They ain't suffering it. They sitting up in Bethel giving speeches and relaxing and having other people do all the work for them. That's what they're doing. This is the most faithless religion in the world. You don't have too many people that don't know that people in the religious sector molesting kids is wrong. There's nobody that doesn't know that. Jehovah's Witnesses are probably the only ones that won't really take a stand against their church. They'll just excuse it. Oh, we're not perfect. That's just a way of avoiding looking into the issue. They're just a bunch of yes men. They're going to go along with whatever Watchtower says, and that's been proven. When Watchtower flat out teaches something that's wrong, they'll just help cover it up. Oh, well, there's brighter light now on that. In other words, we were just so wrong, and it was about to become so obvious that we were wrong that we had to change it. The whole generation of 1914 not passing away before the end of the system, well, you have to change that after a while because it just becomes so painfully obviously wrong. No one's going to really challenge anything when things like that happen. There's no upheaval because Watchtower has gathered together some of the most feeble-minded and weak individuals there are. A lot of the people who are going to the Kingdom Hall, they don't even believe all of it. The only reason they're there is because they're too fearful of change. They're too fearful of grabbing their Bible, praying, and figuring out for themselves where they're supposed to be. They're just too afraid. They're too scared. They have no faith to be able to do that. So they will just sit in the Kingdom Hall knowing. I'm telling you, there are people who know a lot of the teachings are wrong. And they'll sit there anyway just because they are too fearful of change. You got some people that try to fake it because they don't want to get shunned by their family. But then there are definitely some that they don't really believe all of it, but they don't want the change. It's just too much for them. It's too much for them to pick up their Bibles, trust in the God that they say that they believe in, and really examine their beliefs and try to grow and get to a place where they can benefit. And here's the thing. Most of the people inside that cult, the Jehovah's Witness cult, that do have faith, they end up leaving. Because they are going to eventually examine the religion, and they're going to figure out that it's wrong. And they're going to leave. So that just leaves you with an organization that has all the people with faith leaving to find out where they're actually supposed to be, and all the people that don't have faith staying put. That's what happens. As far as having faith and things like that, the only thing Jehovah's Witnesses are going to do is show a video from a long, long time ago about persecution somewhere in some other country. Where's the faith right now, currently? Let's see you examine your religion. There wasn't any, the internet was not a big deal. When Jehovah's Witnesses show you these videos of people doing things a long time ago that would have showed faith, those were the times where there was no internet. Since the time the internet has gotten big, the people with faith have left that religion. Currently, I'm talking currently, Jehovah's Witnesses, they don't have people that have faith. They have weak, feeble-minded people. Back in the day before the internet, before the people that actually had faith had a way of really examining and finding out what really goes on in Watchtower, finding out about the child molestation. Well, before they knew about it, well, the people that had the faith, they did stay. They were there. You would have all the persecution and things like that, and, you know, people would, you know, stick it out. But in America, if persecution broke out, it would be a mess, because the only people there are just there because they're afraid anyway. They're just there because they're afraid anyway. If there was an actual great tribulation that hit the United States, and you just got a bunch of people in the hall that's too scared to even examine their own religion, you mean to tell me they're about to face persecution? They're too scared to Google the damn internet. They're too damn scared to even talk about the Royal Australian Commission about child molestation. They're too damn scared. You mean to tell me these fearful people are about to stand up to some persecution in the United States? No. Comment down below. Let me know what you think. If there was real persecution that were to come out in the United States, it'd probably just be the end of the Watchtower in America. The Jehovah's Witnesses in America just hide behind the country's protection of religion. The country here protects people of all kinds of religions. They're just protected. But if there wasn't that protection and things broke out here, oh man, you just have people leaving left and right. Logically, it makes no sense. They're afraid to look at their own religion online, but they're brave enough to face life-threatening persecution. No. Comment down below. Let me know what you think. 937-789-4029. X-Wall Kill Bethelite signing out.